My boss fired me for taking my niece to a hospital, said, "You're not family, you're weak." My boss fired me. Then I found her memo, backdated, and signed by my husband's former boss. My world crumbled. How could they? Was I wrong to put family first? Hey everyone, get ready for a story that's going to make your blood boil. I'm about to tell you about the day my life imploded, all because I dared to care about my family. My boss, a woman who seemed to relish being heartless, fired me. But that was just the beginning. The real nightmare started when I uncovered a web of lies, a forged document, and a betrayal so deep it still makes me sick to my stomach. Stick around because you won't believe what happened. Trust me, you'll want to hear how I fought back. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this. The fluorescent lights of the office hummed, a constant, irritating drone. The air conditioning struggled to keep up with the late July heat in Columbus, Ohio. It was inventory week, the week everyone dreaded. I had promised my sister I would pick up my niece, Lily, from summer camp. Lily's mother had said she would, but at the last minute she was called away on business. I knew inventory was critical, but Lily needed me. "You're always late, always distracted," she had snapped, her voice dripping with disdain. I worked as a retail operations coordinator, so I was at the heart of everything at work. It was not a job to take lightly, and I never did. Now she was telling me my work meant nothing. This is a business. Family comes second. That evening, after making dinner and reading Lily a bedtime story, my phone rang. It was Sarah, my sister, her voice choked with panic. Lily had eaten something at camp, something with peanuts. She knew about the allergy, but the counselors hadn't checked the ingredients. "I'm rushing there now. Meet me at the Ohio State University Hospital emergency room." My heart leaped into my throat. I grabbed my keys and, without a thought, drove as quickly and as safely as possible to the hospital. I tried calling my boss, but it went straight to voicemail. What would you do in that situation? Ignore your family and stay at work? Hours crawled by in the sterile waiting room. The harsh scent of antiseptic filled the air, mixing with my rising anxiety. He told us that Lily was stable but would need to stay under observation overnight. A wave of relief washed over me, so intense it almost buckled my knees. The Albright prepared to explain. I had rehearsed my apology 100 times. I was ready to take any punishment she threw at me. "Don't bother coming in," she said, her voice cold and dismissive. "Consider yourself terminated." I stammered, trying to explain, to apologize again, but she cut me off. "You abandoned your post during a critical period. You're not reliable." And frankly, she paused, a cruel edge to her tone. "You're not family. You're weak." The words hit me like a physical blow. Not family. What does that even mean? I asked, but the line went dead. I walked to my car in a daze. The Ohio sunshine felt too bright, too cheerful for the darkness that had just descended on my life. My job, my security, gone. All because I helped my niece. Was that fair? Could you ever forgive someone for that? I filed for unemployment, answered endless questions from my husband, Mark, and tried to find a way to explain to Lily that Auntie wasn't going to be buying her that new art set she had been wanting. Mark had been strangely quiet since the firing, a brooding silence that was unsettling. He worked in finance for a smaller company. His boss was a guy named Mr. Davies, someone I had only met a few times. One evening, Mark came home late, his face grim. "Rough day," he muttered, heading straight for the liquor cabinet. "Tell me about it," I said, trying to keep my voice light. "At least you still have a job." He avoided my gaze. "Yeah, well, things are tough all over." His evasiveness bothered me. What was he hiding? I started looking for new jobs, spending hours online. The rejection emails piled up, each one a fresh sting. I felt like a failure. My sense of helplessness grew stronger. One day, I decided to request my personnel file from the company. I was entitled to see it, and I wanted to understand exactly why I had been fired. I walked back into the office, my stomach churning. The receptionist, a young woman named Tiffany, gave me a sympathetic look. "Ms. Albright isn't here today," she said quietly, "but I'll get your file." She returned a few minutes later with a thick manila envelope. I thanked her and hurried out, wanting to be alone when I read it. Back at home, I sat at the kitchen table, my hands trembling as I opened the envelope. The first few documents were standard: my job application, performance reviews. But then I saw it, the termination memo. It stated that I had been warned several times about my poor attendance and lack of focus. It cited specific dates and incidents that I knew were false. The memo was dated the day after I had taken Lily to the hospital, and at the bottom, a signature, Ms. Albright's. But something was off. The signature was shaky, almost hesitant. Then I noticed something else, a small, almost imperceptible difference in the paper stock. The termination memo was different from the rest of the documents. I held it up to the light, my mind racing. This wasn't just a firing. This was something else entirely. This was a setup. But why? And who was behind it? I decided to do some digging. I knew Miss Albright kept meticulous records. If there was anything else related to my firing, it would be in her files. I knew her computer password was her dog's name, so I went back to the office late one night. I was able to use a friend's entry pass key to access the building after hours. I crept down the silent hallway to Ms. Albright's office. The office was silent except for the faint hum of the computer. I held my breath and typed in the password. It worked. I started searching through her emails, her documents, anything that might shed light on the situation. Hours passed, but I found nothing. I was about to give up when I stumbled upon a hidden folder labeled Personal. Inside, there was one document, a letter. It was addressed to Mr. Davies, Mark's boss. The letter was dated a week before I was fired. In it, Ms. Albright asked Mr. Davies for a favor. She explained that she wanted to terminate me and needed his help to ensure that it went smoothly. She wrote that Mark was a valuable employee, and she did not want this dismissal to reflect poorly on him at all. My blood ran cold. She'd asked for a favor. What kind of favor? What was Mr. Davies's involvement? Then I scanned to the final paragraph. And if you could sign off on the backdating of the termination memo, it would remove all liability from the company. Mark is not aware, and I would like to keep him out of this situation at all costs. The world started spinning. My husband's boss had helped Miss Albright fire me, knowing it was based on false information, and Mark knew nothing about it, but she wanted to protect him. I copied the letter to a flash drive and erased it from her computer. I couldn't stay there any longer. I needed to confront Mark. When I got home, Mark was asleep on the couch, the television flickering with static. I woke him up gently. "Mark, we need to talk," I said, my voice trembling. He sat up, rubbing his eyes. "What's wrong?" I showed him the letter. His face paled as he read it. I don't understand," he stammered. "Why would Davies do this?" "He did it for Miss Albright," I said, my voice rising. "She asked him for a favor, to help her fire me." Mark shook his head in disbelief. "That's impossible. Davies would never do something like that." "Read the letter, Mark," I shouted. "It's right there in black and white. She asked him to sign off on the backdated memo." He stared at the letter, his eyes wide with shock. I need to talk to him," he said. Davies?" He came home hours later, his face white and drawn. "It's true," he said, his voice barely a whisper. Davies admitted it. He said Miss Albright told him I was having trouble at home, that I was distracted and stressed. He thought he was helping me by helping her. I couldn't believe it. My husband's boss had interfered in my life, based on lies, thinking he was doing me a favor. And Mark had been kept in the dark the whole time, but the lies had caused great damage. "Did you know about this, Mark?" I asked, my voice flat. "Did you know she was planning to fire me?" He looked at me, his eyes filled with pain. "No, I swear I had no idea. I would never let anyone do that to you." I wanted to believe him, but doubt lingered in my mind. How could he not have known? How could he be so blind? The office lights flickered as rain hit the windows. That night, I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, replaying the events in my mind. Ms. Albright, Mr. Davies, Mark. They had all played a part in this betrayal. I felt like my life had been a lie. Could I ever trust Mark again? The Albright. I went back to the office, determined to get some answers. I marched straight into her office, ignoring Tiffany's protests. Albright was sitting at her desk, a smug look on her face. "What do you want?" she sneered. "I thought I made it clear that you're no longer welcome here." I slammed the letter from Mr. Davies onto her desk. "Explain this," I said, my voice shaking with anger. She picked up the letter, her eyes widening in surprise. "Where did you get this?" "That doesn't matter," I said. "What matters is why you did it. Why did you lie? Why did you involve Mr. Davies?" She hesitated for a moment, then her face hardened. "You were a liability," she said coldly. "You were always late, always distracted. You put your family before your job. That's not acceptable." "So you decided to ruin my life?" I asked. "You forged documents. You lied to my husband's boss. All because I took my niece to the hospital." "I did what I had to do," she said, her voice defiant. "I protected the company, and I protected Mark." "You didn't protect Mark," I said. "You manipulated him. You lied to him. And you destroyed our marriage." I turned and walked out of her office, leaving her speechless. I knew I couldn't let this go. I couldn't let Ms. Albright get away with what she had done. I decided to consult a lawyer. The lawyer listened to my story, his expression grim. "This is a clear case of wrongful termination," he said. "The backdated memo, the false accusations, the involvement of Mr. Davies. It all points to a deliberate attempt to get rid of you." He advised me to file a lawsuit against the company and Ms. He said I had a good chance of winning. I found her email on his laptop, but I hesitated. Filing a lawsuit would be a long, expensive, and emotionally draining process. It would also put Mark in a difficult position. He would be forced to testify, to choose between his wife and his boss. I realized I had a choice: fight back or walk away. Weeks turned into months. The lawsuit dragged on, a constant reminder of the betrayal I had suffered. I was so tired of it all. I needed to take a break and clear my head. One day Lily called me, her voice full of excitement. She told me she had won an art competition and her work would be displayed at a local gallery. I had found her email on his laptop. I decided to go to the gallery opening. As I looked at Lily's artwork, a sense of peace washed over me. Her creativity, her innocence, reminded me of what was truly important in life. At the party, Mark came and apologized again. He had gone to HR at his company and reported Mr. Davies for what he had done. His boss was fired. I realized that I had a choice to make. I could continue to fight, to seek revenge on Ms. Albright, and Mr. or I could focus on my own healing, on rebuilding my life. The memory of my niece's face in the gallery flashed back into my head, and I knew what I had to do. I instructed my lawyer to settle the lawsuit. I didn't care about the money anymore. I just wanted to move on. It wasn't easy. There were days when I felt angry, bitter, and resentful. But I refused to let those feelings consume me. I started volunteering at a local art center, helping children discover their own creativity. I reconnected with old friends and spent more time with my family. I took art classes and began to paint again, something I hadn't done in years. Slowly but surely, I started to heal. I realized that Ms. Davies couldn't control my life anymore. I was in charge of my own destiny. I decided to change my life. I would rise. I learned that true strength isn't about seeking revenge. It's about forgiveness, about moving on, about creating a life filled with purpose and meaning. My life is different now. I'm a freelance artist. I still work hard, but I'm in charge of my time, my happiness, and my future. I am no longer working for a company. This happened 2 years ago. Last Christmas, I received a card from Mark. He told me he was doing well and thanked me for being the strongest person he knew. I can't say that I've completely forgiven Ms. But I have forgiven myself for the guilt and anger I carried for so long. I chose to rise above the betrayal, to create a new life, to find my own path. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. What would you do in my shoes? Could you forgive them? And that's my story. A story of betrayal, lies, and ultimately, resilience. It wasn't easy, but I came out stronger. I'm now doing something that I love, something that makes me happy. The journey was long and arduous, but it taught me the importance of family, forgiveness, and the power of rising above adversity. So, there you have it. What would you have done differently? What choices would you have made? Tell me in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more stories of real-life drama and inspiration. And remember, no matter what life throws at you, you always have the power to choose your own destiny. It's funny, isn't it? How a single moment can change everything. How one person's actions can ripple through your life, leaving devastation in their wake. I often wonder if Miss Albright ever thinks about me. Does she regret what she did? Does she even care? It doesn't matter, I suppose. What's done is done. The rain outside my window is pattering softly against the glass, mimicking the quiet rhythm of my heart these days. It wasn't always so peaceful, you know. There were times when I thought the anger would consume me, when I felt like I was drowning in a sea of bitterness. But I learned to swim, to find my own way to the surface. That's probably what she underestimated about me, my resilience. I visited my sister Sarah and niece Lily last Thanksgiving. Lily is getting so big now, a budding artist with boundless energy and an infectious laugh. Seeing her reminds me why I did what I did, why I chose to prioritize family over a job that ultimately didn't value me. Sarah kept thanking me, telling me how grateful she was. I just hugged her tight, knowing that words weren't enough to express the bond we share. It has been over 2 years now, but I still see an attorney. In fact, she has become a great friend to me and mentor, teaching me the importance of the law. A few months after I let the case go, I had a very interesting development. Tiffany, the young receptionist, reached out to me over a social media platform I had not used for years. I wondered how she had remembered me, as it had been so long since I'd seen her. I was shocked when I met with her. She told me that after I left, a temp was hired to fill my place. After a couple of weeks of employment, that temp left the office, seemingly without warning. She told Tiffany that she couldn't take the toxic environment. After that temp left, Tiffany told me she was snooping around the computers one night and saw a file on the desktop that was not there before. She immediately thought of me and copied it to a flash drive, which she kept until she found me. It was a series of emails between Ms. Albright, Mark's former boss Mr. Davies, and someone I did not recognize. I had an attorney look at them, and she was extremely alarmed. It turned out that Mark's former boss and Ms. Albright were trying to funnel money out of both of their companies and into a fake account in the Bahamas. They were discussing how to get me out of the way so they could do their illegal dealings in peace. I was shocked at how evil those two were. I had to let the authorities know. What would you have done with this type of new information? It was so shocking that I was still processing it. Even as I went to the authorities, my attorney had to assist me so I could calmly tell them what I had discovered. After several months of investigation, it turned out that the evidence Tiffany had copied was valid, and both of them were arrested for their financial crimes. Can you believe that? Mr. Davies and Ms. Albright did so much wrong that they lost everything. I was asked if I wanted to press charges, and I did not hesitate. I told the prosecuting attorney that I wanted them to experience everything that I had experienced, and I wanted to see justice served. So both Mr. Albright were sent to prison. When Mark heard the news, he was shocked and saddened. He still felt some guilt about how he was involved, however, unknowingly. I am still working as a freelance artist, and I am happier than ever. The new receptionist Tiffany and I have become great friends, and she often comes to see my art in local exhibits. I don't know what I would have done without her. I often think back and try to understand how all of this happened. Was it fate? Was it destiny? Or was it just a series of unfortunate events? I don't have the answers, but I do know that I am grateful for the lessons I learned. And I am proud of the woman I have become. Mark and I are in a better place too. It took time, a lot of long talks, a lot of tears, but we worked through it. He understands now the magnitude of what happened, and he deeply regrets his naivety. He's also incredibly supportive of my art, always encouraging me to pursue my passions. Sometimes I catch him staring at me with this look of, well, I don't know, awe, maybe? It's like he's seeing me for the first time, truly seeing the strength and resilience I possess. The other day, he brought me coffee while I was painting, and he said, "You know, I'm so proud of you. You turned something awful into something beautiful." It nearly brought me to tears. I never thought I'd hear those words from him again. We've even started taking dance lessons. It's silly, I know, but it's something we can do together. Something that has nothing to do with work or betrayal or anything heavy. It's just us, laughing and stumbling and trying to learn the tango. It's a reminder that even after everything, there's still joy to be found. The dance studio is bright and airy, sunlight streaming through the large windows, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. The music is loud and lively, and even though I'm completely uncoordinated, I can't help but smile. It's a welcome escape from the memories that still haunt me sometimes. I still get the occasional nightmare, you know, Ms. Albright's face, her cold eyes staring at me, the termination memo swirling around me like a blizzard. I wake up in a cold sweat, my heart pounding in my chest. But now, instead of letting the fear consume me, I get up, grab my paints, and create something. It's my way of reclaiming my power, of turning the darkness into light. It is a way of creating something when I feel like everything is falling apart. My sister has told me that is healthy to cope, and I believe her. What do you do to cope with your difficulties? Do you create, or do you hide away from the world? Or do you something different altogether? Sometimes, when I'm feeling particularly vulnerable, I'll drive past the old office building. It's a strange compulsion, like I need to remind myself that I'm not there anymore. I park across the street and just stare at the building, the windows reflecting the sky. It looks so ordinary, so innocuous. But I know the secrets it holds, the lies and betrayals that lurked within its walls. I don't feel anger anymore, just a faint sense of sadness, for the person I used to be, for the life I thought I had. But then I look up at the sky, at the clouds drifting lazily by, and I remember that the future is still unwritten, that I get to choose who I want to be, what I want to create. And that's a powerful feeling, more powerful than any bitterness or resentment. One day I received a letter from Ms. Albright. It was a short, handwritten note delivered to my art studio. It wasn't an apology, not exactly. It was more of an acknowledgement. She wrote that she had made mistakes, that she regretted the way things had unfolded. She didn't offer any excuses, didn't try to justify her actions. She simply said that she hoped I had found peace. I stared at the letter for a long time, my mind racing. Part of me wanted to tear it up, to throw it away, and forget I had ever received it. But another part of me, a more compassionate part, felt a flicker of something. Not forgiveness exactly, but understanding. I didn't respond. I didn't know what to say. Maybe someday I will. But for now, it's enough to know that she knows, that she understands the pain she caused. And maybe, just maybe, that will help her find her own path to redemption. The letter sits in a box in my closet, a reminder of the past, a reminder of how far I've come, and a reminder that even the people who hurt us the most are still capable of change. It's hard to believe that it all started with a phone call, with my niece's allergic reaction. Such a small thing, really, but it set in motion a chain of events that changed my life forever. What if I hadn't picked up Lily that day? What if I had stayed at work? Would things be different? Would I still be stuck in that same dead-end job, living a life that wasn't truly mine? I don't know, and I don't want to know, because even though the journey has been painful, Even though I've suffered losses and betrayals, I wouldn't trade the person I am today for anything. I am stronger, more resilient, more compassionate. I know what's important in life, and I'm not afraid to fight for it. And that, my friend, is a victory worth celebrating. My attorney keeps telling me that I am a success story, and that I need to share it with the world to help others. What do you think? Should I share my story more widely? I have given so much thought about sharing my story. I am so afraid of the backlash. So I have been hesitant. My attorney says that others have faced similar problems in Columbus, Ohio, as I have. I still do not understand how those people did that to me. When I look at Mark, I still wonder if he was telling the truth. He has been so loving and supportive of me, but there is still a part of me that thinks he may have known more than he let on. It is something I may never know for sure. Sometimes I wonder if it is because I am a woman that the boss did that. I often wonder if Mr. Davies would have signed that if I was a man. I will never know. Those questions still plague me in the night, during those nightmares. It is like I am stuck in a repeating loop of bad memories. I still don't know what I did to deserve this treatment, even after receiving the truth about their crimes. After receiving the letter from Miss Albright, I went to see my therapist. We had so much to discuss, and it was difficult to organize my thoughts and feelings. It felt like someone had taken a dump truck full of trash and dumped it all over my soul. The counselor reminded me that I have value as a person, regardless of what Ms. Albright had done. She also reminded me that I'm very creative and talented, and I should be focusing on what I want to do with my life, instead of fixating on what Ms. She asked me who I was trying to prove wrong. My counselor asked me to look inward and determine what it was that I wanted to do with my life, so I did. Mark, my sister Sarah, Tiffany, and my counselor helped me stay on a straight path. The world seems different than it did before all of this happened. The colors are brighter, the air smells fresher, and I feel like I can actually breathe. I go for walks in the park often and try to appreciate nature. Now I notice all the little details, such as the butterflies and the squirrels. I just enjoy the world and all its beauty. I have reconnected with friends I had lost contact with, and I have made some new ones as well. My sister Sarah has even started taking art classes. Lily is a better artist than all of us, though. We joke about opening up an art gallery together. Mark seems happier, and he seems to be trying to do his best to make up for the part he unknowingly played in this whole mess. Sometimes I wonder if Mark feels sorry for Miss Albright and Mr. Davies. He says no, he's just glad that justice was served. He has been working at the same company now for the past 2 years. I am afraid that they will treat him badly because I pressed charges against the former boss. He is very talented, and he deserves to be treated well, no matter what the situation. He has said to me, "It is not your problem if they decide to act unprofessionally. You do not control their behaviors." That has helped me let that anxiety go. Do you ever feel anxious about things you can't control? How do you deal with it? He tells me it's just his job, a way to pay the bills, but I know he's good at what he does, and he deserves to be recognized for his talent. I worry about him, but I try not to let it consume me. We talk about it, we support each other, and we try to focus on the positive aspects of our lives. He is. One day, while I was at an art fair, a woman approached my booth. She looked familiar, but I couldn't quite place her. She complimented my work, telling me how much she loved the colors and the emotion it conveyed. As we talked, I realized who she was, Ms. Albright's sister. I was completely caught off guard. I didn't know what to say or do. What would you do in that situation? Would you run away? Would you confront her? "I know who you are," she said softly, her eyes filled with sadness. My sister told me about what happened. I wanted to apologize on her behalf. She's not a bad person, but she made some terrible choices. I listened silently as she spoke, trying to process everything. She told me that Ms. Albright was struggling, that she was filled with remorse and regret. She asked if there was anything she could do to make amends. I thought about it for a moment. Then I shook my head. "There's nothing you can do," I said. The damage is done, but thank you for coming. She nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. I just wanted you to know that not everyone in my family condones what she did, she said. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive her someday. And then she turned and walked away, leaving me standing there, alone with my thoughts. It's strange, isn't it? How even the people who hurt us the most have families, have loved ones who care about them. It's a reminder that everyone is human, everyone is flawed, and that forgiveness, even when it seems impossible, is always an option. That was the last thing that happened directly related to Ms. Albright. It's not something I think about constantly. Instead, I am now focused on my new role in life. Sometimes I see people from my former workplace while shopping, but I simply smile and continue. I realize I am not the same person I used to be, so the past doesn't bother me as much. I am now doing what I want, and those people are stuck in a rut. That is what I think to myself anyway. There are days when I get really down, but I try to stay above those feelings. I am not the same person. I am stronger. The local art community has been extremely supportive of my art, and I have made a name for myself. I have had many art shows where I am able to meet new people. They have all been very encouraging. My counselor said that is a good sign. My therapist told me to embrace my new life and let go of the past. I have really focused on that, and that has helped me release a lot of negativity. I often think back to that time when I was fired, and then I think about all the horrible actions and bad words Ms. Albright said to me. I am a much different person than I was back then. I am glad that all of that happened, even though it sounds very odd to say that. The only thing that keeps me up at night is thinking whether Mark had anything to do with it. I'm not sure I will ever know for sure. My niece Lily wants to learn all about what happened to me, but I don't want to put that negativity into her beautiful mind. I am very protective of her. I may tell her when she is older, but she is far too young to know about such darkness. Mark and I continue to go to dance classes. We've gotten pretty good, and it is a great way to release all the stress in our lives. My anxiety is much more manageable now, and that is all that matters. Do you have any anxiety? How do you deal with it in your life? It is important to make sure to release stress so that you can be a happy person. I really value what my therapist has taught me over the years. Without her, I would be lost. Therapy is so important. I urge everyone to find a good counselor or therapist. They can help you through anything. I am so happy that I got over my fear of therapy. It is nothing to be ashamed of. I went to the fair with my sister, niece, and Mark this summer, and that was wonderful.